The ceasefire deal stipulates that 600 aid lorries should enter the territory of the Gaza Strip per day for the 6 weeks of the truce. But as bombs continue to fall and the deal awaits ratification, help is blocked. 90% of Gazans still don't have enough to eat.
The hope of a ceasefire starting on Sunday is a beacon for the embattled residents of the Gaza Strip. With it would come the promise of 600 lorries per day of humanitarian supplies. That's more than have reached the Strip in the whole of the month of January so far. Aid trucks are parked up along the Egyptian border as the Rafah crossing prepares to reopen.
We are happy that we will be crossing the border, and thank God, Gaza will be blessed and we will be blessed, Egypt and the people who will be receiving the aid. We've been here for a long time waiting for them to allow us to cross.
Supplies include food and grain, but also portable toilets, as 90% of the population has been displaced, many living in tents without proper sanitation. Damage to wastewater infrastructure and healthcare facilities, as well as overcrowded living conditions, have led to outbreaks of disease amid food shortages that have become chronic.
I can tell you that in the last couple of months we've been giving less assistance to the people. In terms of number, it's more or less the same, but we were giving them reduced ration size. So we know that the situation is desperate. We know that there are some areas in Gaza that we were not able to reach. Our request to move has been denied.
Israeli forces have repeatedly failed to facilitate NGOs' movement within the Strip, and with the vast majority of aid convoys arriving through the southern Kerem Shalom crossing, little has reached the cities of the north, where some areas are on the brink of famine and where the only remaining hospital, Al Auda, also faces critical shortages of fuel and supplies.
The words, the images of Antonia's story there really bringing home the problems facing the Palestinians there in the Gaza Strip. Let's bring in Tommaso Della Longa from the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent. Thank you, sir, for being with us here in France 24. Aid is the issue. While the deal isn't ratified or even voted on by the Israeli cabinet, the people in Gaza are just not getting what they need.
Indeed. First of all, Mark, thanks a lot for having me tonight. And yes, people of Gaza, they're not getting what they need. And sadly, I would say shockingly, is not news. This has been happening for almost the entire last 15 months of conflict. And we are talking of the entire population of Gaza, more than 2 million people displaced without anything, basically in a limbo where they're trying to survive with no safety, no basic, no food, no water, no health. And even recently, with the cold weather and the rain, some of the camps that you're now showing were completely flooded. And again, they lost everything. So it's really a nightmare and a desperate situation.
Since the truce was announced over 24 hours ago now, 77 more Palestinians have been killed in Israeli bombardment. Those who cynically look at the situation say the truce starts when the truce starts, and it hasn't actually been concluded yet, and it is supposed to kick in on Sunday. I'm wondering what the situation on the ground is like for your operatives who are there. You've described what people are facing, but clearly you've got people there trying to provide help.
It's a nightmare. It's a continuous nightmare. It's really hell on earth. I think that we really finished words some months ago to speak about what is going in Gaza and the frustration of the humanitarian community, and of course, first and foremost, of the people in Gaza. It's just growing and growing every other minute. The colleagues of Palestine Red Crescent in Gaza are putting their life at risk almost every moment. They are affecting themselves. Their families are affecting themselves. They're telling us a mixed feelings. Like from one side, of course, there is hope, but on the other side, there is also fear that this will not going to happen. And again, they will live in a limbo. So we do hope that from Sunday on, will be a massive scale up of humanitarian aid. Hostages will be back home, and will be security and safety and protection for civilians and humanitarian workers.
Your concern, the concern of your colleagues, is primarily for those who need help, but looking at their perspective as well, this must be incredibly difficult for them in terms of their mental state and their physical safety.
Thanks a lot for this question. I think that the mental health, the psychological support that they will need. I'm thinking about our colleagues, humanitarian workers of Palestine Crescent, but the entire population is massive. And there are wounds that are not physical wounds that maybe sometimes you cannot see it immediately, but then in the weeks and months to come will be there, and it will be staying sometimes for years. Now we are seeing some children. I want to mention something that is really close to my heart. That is an activity of the Palestine Crescent with a little bus with a mental health support unit that is going around calling the bus of the dreams and of the hope, because mental health, even in a moment where even food is not there, mental health is a priority, because there is not health without mental health, and these children needs everything, but needs also to be able to sleep without fearing to be bombarded.
Sadly, this coming night, more bombardment is predicted. Tommaso, if this isn't concluded when it is supposed to be concluded on Sunday and when things are supposed to calm down, I mean, clearly, the risks that you've just outlined, they are multiplied. There are going to be more deaths, more people in need, more risks, more problems.
Indeed. I mean, I totally agree with your analysis. I mean, with your words. And the point here, it's really, to me, very difficult nowadays to speak about this, because we have been 15 months calling for the same request, with the same request to all the parties, highlighting exactly what was going to happen. No electricity means hospitals without fuel will not work. No medicine means that people will die because they don't have access to basic health. No food, no water, no sanitation will bring more illness and more disease outbreak. And we predicted it. And not because we are kind of a magician, but because we know that in overcrowded space, without any basic, this is what is going to happen. In a situation where there is no safe place everywhere in Gaza, which is already a tiny piece of land. So I do hope, and the plea really to all the parties is to make this happen and to stop this conflict as soon as possible, because the people in Gaza cannot survive anymore like this. And the family of the hostages, and of course the hostages themselves, must go back home.
Tommaso, I know you're supposed to be apolitical and separate and above politics and basically helping those in need, and that's why you've got the respect, I think, of everybody. But I've got to ask you this question, because we've just heard from Israel's National Security Minister that he'll resign if this deal goes through. He's urging Benjamin Netanyahu to pull out of it completely. Netanyahu's delaying the vote because of what he says he wants Hamas to accept all the terms. Politics being played in some way, shape or form, clearly. In the meantime, people suffering on the ground. What is your message? And you can refuse to answer if you wish, and I will understand that. But what is your message to the people who are deciding, to the politicians?
I will never refuse to answer to this question, because I think that it's key for our work, but most important for the community that we are trying to serve as much as possible. So the message to everyone who is in power, even to stakeholders, to everyone who can bring the message to whoever is in power, is to stop this conflict as soon as possible, create safety and protection of civilians, humanitarian workers, and bring aid to these people. Suffering must not have a flag or a political affiliation. These people deserve to be served in a dignified way. They deserve food, they deserve water, they deserve health. They deserve also to be treated in a proper way. So to leave Gaza, we don't have to forget that Gaza has been sealed. No way in, no way out. And this is something that it's really, again, on a humanitarian perspective, shocking, because if you think about other conflict, I mean, I'm thinking about Sudan, Ukraine, and other places where suffering is immense. I don't want to underestimate any kind of suffering. At least there is kind of movement of population. People can try, sometimes without being able to survive and to escape. In Gaza, this is not possible, and it's something that must stop. So the call on whoever is in power is to act immediately, because the people in Gaza and the hostages don't have any more time.
Tommaso, thank you very much. Your words are now out there for people to hear and digest. Power to you, power to your colleagues, and let's hope that they're kept safe and their job is helped by some kind of accord which is reached and agreed by Sunday, if not before. Why not, if not before? We know these things take time. Tommaso Della Longa from the International